All right, I've been working on some tube notching approaches for the SAE Baja vehicle. And so I've tried this kind of tube notcher before, something similar to this one here. And they work okay, but I still feel like I need a guide to get these notches in place so that tubes fit together. And I just noticed that some people are trying to do those kinds of things here. But really, I was trying to do it on paper first and then maybe 3D printing second. So if you're interested in the paper part of it, here's the equation for it. For the distance versus the circumference S. And so you print this out and you wrap it around a tube and it shows you where to make the cut. So it's more like a guide than it is anything else. And you can change the angle like this to like 75 degrees, and then that changes accordingly. So you get the idea about how this prints out. Now, what you could do is just take this right here, and I think you just hit Control C for copy. And you see what I did over here is I pasted it into a Google document. I'm just going to paste this next one in there to show you what I did to get it so that it prints out nicely. And that is number one, right click on it crop it and crop it down to just this area here, right there on the blue line. Just like that. And I guess you don't need all of that either. The next thing you want to do, maybe trim that a little bit better, but that's okay, is to put the circumference in here, which in my case is a 1 inch diameter tubing. So it's just 3.14 is the circumference of that, since the radius is half of an inch. So 1/2 times 2 pi gives you the pi right there. So if you print this out on paper, then you can wrap it around the end of the tube, and you can either use a marker here or just tape it to the tube. And it helps you with making sure that you're cutting in the right place as you're notching the tube. So that works okay. But I've also, maybe a couple of years ago, um, used SolidWorks to make a 3D printed version that follows this. But now we've moved over to Inventor, so we'll make a new video and so some new approaches for notching tubes. All right, so here we go. So the first thing you really want to do is start off with something that has the units for your tube. In my case, it's a 1 inch diameter tube. So start the sketch and two-dimensional sketch just on the bottom plane and put a 1 inch circle down here at the bottom. Now, one of the things I want to do though is I want to have some allowance. So I'm going to put 1 inch plus zero point 0.4 millimeters. I'm sorry, 0.6 millimeters. Give us an allowance outside of that. So outside so that this will slip on a tube that has a 1 inch outer diameter. So I've kind of played around with that number. A tighter fit would be zero point 0.4. That's what I usually use, but I want this to loosely go on in case there's any burrs on the tube itself. All right, so there's that. And then the wall thickness of our sleeve, that's going to be kind of a template. It's not going to be paper thin. Instead, what we're going to do is just make it a millimeter thick. So when you print it out, right there. So you can type in 1 millimeter in Inventor to do that. And then we'll just extrude it maybe an inch at that donut shape right there. And then what we can do is start cutting through this. And let's see, there's a couple of ways to do this. Maybe what you can do is go to View and go to Section View. And let's just take a look at the section that is the XY plane. Green check mark. Right click on that same plane and say New Sketch. And so now we're going to mark the path of our cut. And I just realized maybe I could use a midpoint line, start here, and then go off in that direction. Let's make this a construction line and then measure it with respect to vertical. So here, and I think I have to go over here and say y-axis like this, so that I can see this is my axis there. So I'm going to put 75 degrees as an example notch. Then what you can do is go over to the model, and I guess you got to come back and save it though. Go back to the model, and let's make a plane at the end of this path right there. Then we will right click on there and say New Sketch. And let's see if it's gonna, did it let me do a new sketch? It's kind of hard to say. Let's try it again. New sketch. There we go. And we can do the same thing here. But this is where I was getting into an issue, as you'll see in a moment. So we're going to go outside like this. And remember that we're doing a one, um, let's see, plus, well, I guess it's just 1 inch, right? Mm, but we want an allowance, so yeah, so we still want an allowance to come through there. So plus 0.6 millimeters. So mixing units, as you can see. And what we could do with that is just go ahead and try to cut that, but I don't think that that's going to be what we want. So let's go the other direction and cut through here, and let's drag this way out here. And you see it just kind of doesn't exactly do the right thing. Number one, it doesn't cut all the way to the outside because I have 1 millimeter thick right there. But it does give you this inner curve right there. That's actually the correct line that we saw right over here. Now, if I put 75 back in there, that's the point that you see right here and here is in Inventor right there. But because it has a thickness to it, it creates this thing where if you try to use it as a template by going over here to view and then removing the section view, got to move it around a little bit. Oh, maybe it didn't cut. But now I can do it again. So let's go ahead and cut all the way through. And okay. And what you're going to see here is that if you tried to put your pen against that line, it would be covered up by that. So this is some extra shape there. So what you could do is say, well, maybe what I need to do is go back over here to this sketch and just add another millimeter to it like I did for the initial piece. Let's see, is that what I did? Yeah, I gave it a millimeter wall thickness. So that means I need to add 2 millimeters here. I'll show you what 1 millimeter looks like just so you can get an idea of it. Like that. It gets a little bit better, but then you lose the actual structure here because it's cutting into that unnecessarily. And then you can go over here and do it, which is what the actual diameter of the other one is, and that's 2 millimeters because when you add a wall thickness of a millimeter, the diameter is increased by 2 millimeters. So if you go like that, I mean, it kind of looks better, well, maybe that's actually the shape right there. So you might be happy with that because this would be touching the metal. Whoops, sorry. This would be touching the metal right here, but then your pen would be along that edge. But I don't know. It seems kind of maybe not exact. So I came up with another method. So let's go ahead and look at that one. So let's go again to inches. And now let's make a circle that is a surface instead of a solid shape. So we'll start a 2D sketch right here. Pause the recording. Okay, I forget really where I was, but let me just go ahead and assume that I was talking about this circle. And again, we need 1 inch plus a little bit of allowance. So it's not really going to be called tolerance because tolerance is more to me like a statistical uncertainty, but this is a um, forced offset. So I call it an allowance to allow this to slip on a tube, which is 1 inch outer diameter. So a little bit of gap there, intentional gap. And so what we're going to do here is say, finish that sketch. Wait, where'd it go? Okay, maybe I didn't finish that. Edit sketch. I'm not sure what I did. Let's just try it again. So 1 inch plus 0.6 millimeters. Okay, and then what we can do is extrude that maybe before even saving it. And what you want to do is go up here to surface. And so you can see it's translucent. It's kind of a pink surface. You may not even be able to see it. So I will make it visible in a moment. All right, so this is just like our 1 inch tube, but now if I go into the feature tree and select translucent and turn that off, now I can see that it's just like a paper thin shell. So then I'm going to do the same thing I did before, except now I'm going to use surfaces rather than solids, and then do a little bit of thickening at the end, as you see here. So let's continue with the same thing. Go to View and Half Section View. And again, let's look on this plane, green check mark. Right click on the same plane, New Sketch. And again, we'll draw our line through which the tube will pass. And we'll put that at an angle of 75 degrees, just like the other one. And then we're going to do the same thing. Let's see if I can remember. Going over here, can't select this. So that means we need to save the sketch first, then go back to 3D model, then plane. And I want the plane to be perpendicular to that line. So I select the line and the end. Then right click on this, new sketch. Okay, and then again, we'll make the circle. We're going to extrude it toward us. Let's make it the same thing, 1 inch plus 0.6 millimeters. And let's see, that's it. All right, now we're going to do an extrude again. But again, it's not a solid extrude. It's going to be a surface extrude. The profiles is what it's asking me to select first. I want it to go the other direction. I want it to go through everything like that. Okay, is that all? I think that's it. All right. So now we have the two surfaces. I'll make this one visible by making it not translucent. And what we need to do is, gosh, I think it's a split, but I'm not really sure. We basically want to draw the intersection of this one on top of that one. I wonder if that's what I could have done. I heard that it might be possible to do, let's see. Well, there's no option for intersect down here. Okay, so never mind on that part. So what I did was I did a split and it said, what tool do you want to use? And I assumed that it wanted me to use this one as the cutting tool. And the face I want to cut through right here is this one. And then when I do that, you'll see that it kind of made that line through there. All right, so that's the split tool. And then I have to do something else. I think I got to use the trim tool. Now I think it's over here under surface and trim. And so I want to trim off certain parts of this. Let's see. Do I use this as my cutting tool? And then say I want that off and that off. Maybe I didn't even need to do the split before. Okay. I'm not sure if it did it or not. Okay, let's see if it actually did it. So what I can do on this one is take this and take the visibility off, and we can see that it actually did what were wanting. So that's pretty clever. And then we will hide this, can move this around, hide this working plane here. We don't need that anymore. And so there's our shape that's kind of paper thin. Well, actually infinitely thin according to the way we do surfaces here. But then I found that there was this thing called thicken right here. And so you select the surface and you got to make sure you want to extrude this outward. So that way you give that little gap there. And again, we're at 1 millimeter. And check out the difference. So this time, oops, it went the other way. You can see that it just made this nice straight cut, unlike this other one where we have this slant in that area. So I just kind of feel better about this one being better for marking our extrusions. Okay, so let me save this one as, let's see, what do I want to save it as? Maybe some kind of notching template or notching sleeve would be a good name for it. Maybe I already have something in that directory that I can use. Okay, it says, let's see, yeah, there's notch right there. So I'm going to call this like version 2 of my notch because I'm kind of liking this one better. I will 3D print this one in a bit to check it out, of course. Okay, let's see. But what I want to do is make it so that if I change and type these numbers in as variables, can I have the words on the outside? Now, gosh, it's been a long time since I've done this part, so I wouldn't blame you if you fast forwarded through this video. But let's see if we can do this, where we can we can cut, uh, let's see, let's cut the number 75 degrees into this surface here. So let's see if we can do that. Um, so let's get a plane like this and then go offset from it. And so we will pull it off this direction instead. Click OK, and then we'll start drawing on this plane. And we want to put the number 75 right there. So we'll go plain text right there. 75. Now, if I remember what's the escape sequence? Do you do Alt 0157? Is that it? No. Let me pause the video. There's like an Alt key that you can use. Okay, check this out. Hey Siri, what is the Alt symbol or the Alt number for degrees?
I found this on the web.
Okay. It says hold down the Alt key 0176. There's the degree symbol. There's probably a better way to do that, but that's one way to achieve it. Let's look at see how big this is. You can see that it appears to be backwards. Didn't expect that. So it looks like it drew on the opposite side that I really wanted it to. I guess that's okay. We probably just need to flip the side that we're doing this on. So let's see if I can actually do this more fun. And that is move the working plane to the other side. So can you edit the working plane? Let's see, edit dimensions. Okay, and then I move it to the other side. Okay, does that make it right? Yeah, that's one way to do it. And you can even do stuff like take this and like rotate it maybe if you want to do that. Let's see. Are we editing the sketch though? Let's go in here, edit sketch. Is there a rotate? Yeah. So let's click this corner, that corner, and is that how you rotate it? No, wait. Okay, gotta select. Let me try it again. So rotate, select one corner, and then I think you select the center point like this, and then, oh, wait, I did that wrong. Okay, I forget how to do it actually. So we will learn together on this one. So are we selecting the object? I think so. Are we selecting the center point? Maybe. There we go. All right, so now we got it lined up, and we can move it over like this. And the thing is that if we try to cut this out, this is going to be a hole instead of like something that looks like a degree. So I'm going to try something that's been a while. Let's number one, make it bigger, like that, 1/4 inch about. And then there's this thing called stencil, which is, a type of pattern that if you punch holes, it doesn't, um, leave pieces. It only takes out parts. You'll see what I'm talking about. Stencil, stencil, stencil. Okay, where's it at? Um, you know what? It has a different prefix to it, if I remember right. Oh, yeah. It's not exactly the word stencil. Can I type in? No. All right, let me go Google that right quick. Okay, I can't remember where I left off because I had to go install the the font for stencil. And so I just selected right here and then had to install the font for stencil and then restart Autodesk Inventor to see it like this. It's probably overkill. I just kind of like doing these kinds of things, I suppose. So you can go to emboss and you can take this profile and put it on a face, I think. I think you want it on the near face. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so that sticks out. And so you don't really need a stencil for that. But if you edit this and say do a cut instead, like this, well then sure, because then you'll see that this little piece right here is still gonna stay there. And it's probably just good enough to have it raised text, but I don't know. I kind of like the stencil look to it for some reason. Did I go all the way through? I'm not really sure that I did. Um, almost doesn't look like it, does it? So let me go emboss, edit feature. Well, um, I think we did everything. All right, well, let's just see what it looks like when we do let's see, let's get rid of this one, or visibility wise. And I think there's probably a sketch visible somewhere. Let's see what this looks like on a 3D printer. So environments, 3D print. And so there it is. Yeah, and it looks like it went all the way through actually. And what we'll do is we'll save this as an STL file and put it in this same directory right here and save it as STL. Then load up Bamboo Studio where I can rotate the part because we certainly don't want to print it like that. And we will see if this is going to be good enough for us. Let me pause the video.